Lesson 2, we're going to be covering portions and carbohydrates. So let's begin with carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are a macronutrient that are essential for fueling the body. And what I mean by that is that your body needs carbs. Yes, I'm telling you, the craziest thing that your body needs is carbohydrates. So, what kind of carbohydrates are there though? We have sugars, which are fruits and gummies and candy, things that can get broken down easily. Starchy fibers are starchy carbohydrates, which are going to be more so potatoes, things like that. Easier, but a little bit complex. Then fibrous carbohydrates, which are going to be more complex, meaning it's going to be harder for your body to break down. And when we're looking at how many carbs a person should have, typically anywhere from 5 to 10 grams per kilogram of body weight. Now, when we're looking at carbohydrates, what basically this does is it is broken down into fuel. So when we look at eating carbohydrates, whether it's something that's going to be sugary or fibrous, actually, you know what? Let's look at that. Sugary carbohydrates are going to be broken down easier. So that's quick, fast energy. When we look at our starchier, fibrous carbohydrates, those are going to be harder for your body to break down. So that's going to be used for fuel a lot longer or a lot later. So rather than instant fuel, which is sugary carbs that can get broken down easier, you also have carbohydrates that are starchier and more fibrous that get broken down a lot longer, and you have more sustained energy with those. Why are they important? Well, it's because the entire thing I've been saying is that it acts as energy. So when we look at carbohydrates, the way that they work is they fuel the body. The body needs energy to move and to think. Well, where do we get that energy? It's from carbohydrates. It's glucose that gets put into the body, that gets sustained into the body and gets released when your body is either thinking or doing work. So when we look at carbohydrates, they're the most critical and most important thing that we can eat, in my opinion, because it fuels the brain, helps us with digestion, and makes us feel fuller for longer. So where are areas that we can get it from? Here are the places: breads, pastas, chips, fruits, veggies, potatoes, oatmeal. And if you look at the other side over here, we have our best friend, potato. Potato, you are the best, and I love you, because there's so many ways that we can cook potatoes, and here are the ways. And the nice thing about this that precision nutrition does really well is they don't tell you to eat to not eat these things. They're just saying, hey, maybe eat less of these things. So that's a great thing to look at, is you can still eat the foods you love, just not as often. Now we're going to move into the portion part of this talk, of the lesson, because it's important that we go over portions, because it's going to help us with preventing us from overeating. It's going to allow for us to have the appropriate amount of food that we need to eat in the day, but it helps us with feeling full. Now, how can we portion, or why is it helpful for us to do it? Is because if your goal is to either gain some muscle or look leaner, well, you have to be able to portion out the right amount of proteins and carbs in order to get that type of look. Now, if we're on the opposite spectrum, where we want to look leaner and focus a little bit more on body composition, we'll look at eating less. So making sure that you're portioning for lesser calories that you'll eat in a day. And either way, our nutrition is going to help us with recovery from your workouts. So there's just so many important factors when it comes to portions, that it's just critical that we're looking at these things. Again, Precision Nutrition is my best friend. I think they have the best, most credible source of information for nutrition, and they do a lot of current things. So when we look at their nutrition, I agree with them where it's a wide variety of vegetables, leaner meats, healthier fats. But I encourage it to have another split in the veggies area and have it be some type of complex carbohydrate, or a grain of some sort because it's just important to have. That's just a personal preference. Now, looking at portions here, you can pause the video and take a look at it. This is for females, and this is for men, looking at portion size of what to eat when it comes to fats, veggies, and proteins. Now, how can we get better portions? Well, you can measure out your food with measuring cups of doing the recommended serving size. You can use apps like MyFitnessPal to track your food to see how many calories you're consuming and to see where your fat and protein and carbohydrates are. I personally use journaling. I think it's the easiest way to do it because it's just me writing down what I'm eating. I don't have to worry about the calories. I don't have to worry about um, the nuance of finding the right thing. It's just more of I had this, and I'm just kind of seeing, am I getting those areas of, am I getting enough carbohydrates? Am I getting enough protein? Am I eating cleaner food, per se? So I personally love journaling. You can use containers and you can also weigh your food. So containers, they have these pre-made containers that you can put in. It's like, hey, make sure you fill this up with protein, this with veggies, and this with fats. And with weighing your food, you can get a food scale and you can measure out the amount of ounces that you're taking in when it comes to the food that you're eating. So this is action steps. What you can do to get something out of this lesson is get a notebook or get an app to start tracking your food. You don't have to do it every day, but just get in a habit of seeing, every other day or maybe every 3 days of just seeing what you're eating and what your routine looks like. Um, just take one meal out of your week to just give it a try of portioning it out in whatever way you want to, eyeballing it, hand, actually weighing it out, whatever you want to do. Just get a feel for what portions are like. And then lastly, if you take anything away from what I talked about, it's to reduce overeating. So avoid the clean plate club.